Kirty, by the way. So 4 months later went on. 4 months. I get back at school. The conference is in August. I have kids. I don't know about you guys, but August is like get kids in school. You're just really busy. Next thing you know, it's like Thanksgiving, and then you get into your gratitude, and you're trying to figure out what you accomplished in the year, and you're just in this vibration. And I don't know about you, but if you're raising kids like me, you're on the hamster wheel. My husband and I divide and conquer all day, and you're just trying to get through the next day, and that's how I roll day to day. So it's truly where I came back, and I listened to her again. She kept calling. But Kirti sent a message to me on LinkedIn. And I get a lot of messages just like everybody else, right? You guys all get hit up, tons of traffic, of digital traffic. And for whatever reason with the Holy Spirit, Kirti hit me on the right day. Who knows why I listened to Kirti's message? I have no idea. But I know today, as I talk to you today, that was divine. Isn't that crazy? Okay, so what did Kirti say to me that was divine? He goes, Nicole, have you published anything lately? Do you have anything that you want to say? And I said, well, I'm not really writing anything right now, but I did do a gratitude letter that I'm sending out to my clients and my employees this year. And so I could just send you the gratitude letter that I sent. It's just like a small little article. And so I sent it.
I mean, when was the last time you caught the people in your lives doing things right? We don't have to look very far to find negativity in this world. So catch the people at home, your family, your kids, people at work, on your teams. And you know what? Yes, even yourself. Catch yourself doing things right. I mean, when was the last time you cooked a dinner and you said, oh my gosh, that was awesome, Vicki, way to go! Gosh, it was the best tuna casserole I've ever made. I don't like tuna casserole, I don't know why that came to me, but yeah, so catch yourself doing things right. So here's where the practice comes in. Here's your homework. So the rest of the day, as you're going about your business, if you catch a glimpse of yourself, maybe it's in the...
That prevent us from accessing this brain frequency. So fortunately, they have found a way to restore theta through a process called brain entrainment. So it uses a 7-minute audio track that is practiced on a daily basis that helps us regain access and restores this frequency, and it helps us access our unlimited potentials. This audio track is called the Genius Song. So if anyone's interested in the Genius Song, please come see me after and I can provide you guys with access.
Okay, in March 2022, and I lost 13 others in between in 3 years. I literally hit a wall. I was bedridden for 2 months. I didn't even have the capacity to watch TV. I literally slept and healed. And then went back inwards myself, which I started about 39, because I was so type A, an overachiever, that I wanted all my shit figured out before I turned 40. And I turned 61 in February of this year, and I feel like a 1-year-old all over again, learning to do life on my terms.
Online, yes, he saw my picture. Okay, and we're still married, 16 years. I just saw the guy online, I liked him, I said, you know what, he's gonna be my husband. I messaged him, we Skyped, and he told me, I bought you a ring after 3 days, all right? Yeah, so that's another story. Does anybody know what Skype is, an MSN Messenger?
My mom's behind him. We just had a relationship starting, talking about these emotional patterns and where she got it from. I could see my husband. He said, you have a choice. I said, tell my mom I'll see her again someday. I was back in my body, that quick. And then the jokes came. Cutting off my clothes. There's a better way to see a girl naked, guys. Where's my husband? As long as he's not driving, let's go. Right.
All right, then there's Jason. Jason is training to be a financial advisor. And he gets his first potential client. He's so excited. He drives to their house, rings their doorbell. They open the door, he walks in, sits down at their kitchen table, opens up his binder, gives his presentation. He does a wonderful job because he's been training for 4 months. When it comes to the end, he knows what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to ask for the sale. He's supposed to ask the client to work with him. But all of a sudden, a dog barks and a child's screaming, and he asks the client, do you have any questions? The client says,
and how to do it before you're afraid. Well, I do some exercises and I wanted to keep you moving, so get up. All right, our first exercise, you see, we think fear and all this is something else. It's actually, everything's related to our physiology, to our bodies, to our minds. We feel it in our guts, we feel it in the sweaty hands. Our thoughts start spinning around. So we're going to do 2 exercises. The first one I used to teach with another group in schools, which is just simple breathing. Breathe in 4, hold 4, release, not 4. 4 doesn't work. Release 6, because it's actually been proven that adding extra breaths out will actually work with your physiology to give you a clearer mind and center your body.
I did a study on imposter syndrome earlier this year. I can't do microphones, sorry guys. And one of my best friends, she works with nuclear submarines. She sent me a text and she goes, Tanya, I have a presentation today and I'm really nervous. And I was like, all right. I said, do you know your material? Yes. Do you realize you just told me you know your material? Oh, well, yeah, I know my material. Okay, you've been doing this for 3 decades. Yeah. I'm going into a room with a bunch of physicists. She's not a physicist. And I was like, girl, go get it. Why are you asking me? You've been doing this for 30 years. Who cares who your audience is? Go kill it. I have more about her in the future.
So she leaves and she comes back and she says, well, they want you. I didn't even ask who they were because I really was like half listening, right? She said, they want you to go have lunch and come back. Can you do that? And I was like, well, yeah, sure. Because I can go get on and finish this call. You know, we have calls back to back to back to back, death by conference call, right? So I go do my conference call during lunch and I come back and the doctor comes in and she says, we're gonna have to do an emergency biopsy. And so she got a little bit of my attention. Now, mind you, I'm sitting in there, I'm on the little table thing, and I have my earpiece in. I'm listening to a conference call. And so I take it out of my ear and I put it down. And she went and got a machine, and so they started doing the biopsy, of course, you know. And she says, I'm 99.9% sure this is breast cancer.
When you use a soft strategy approach, you also widen your ability to leverage your executive functions because you're not functioning from a high stress level posture or position. You're functioning from a place of clarity, you're functioning from a place of regulation, and internal regulation is a powerful, powerful, powerful thing. When I learned how to regulate myself internally, the silent and quiet damage I become. When I say damage, I mean that in a good way. The powerhouse you become quietly when you understand regulation and it's more.
The one thing for redefining success is what is your impact? The impact might be very small and can be, I helped my children to go to work today, to school today. I dressed myself and I went to work and we accomplished something. It can be, I helped my community. It can be, I did something else. Redefining and really creating multiple points of impact, because your brain, when they know that you succeed, it doesn't know exactly what you succeeded at. It knows that it feels good to you that you did it.
And so for me, the joys of social entrepreneurship is I didn't create this. I didn't conceptualize it. I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't even know what would happen. And there's a story behind this. And so this is a mission. This is a vision. And I was given the vision. I'm not the one who, put the mail together. He delivered it to me. I am driven by my faith and my commitment. But my faith is this. It is the belief that lives can change and be transformed by servanthood. Yes. I believe.
And then he left. All I can hear at that time was the white crinkling paper, thinking, what's going on? I wept, I picked up my crutches, and I walked out. I walked out to the hall where the nurses were talking, people were laughing, patients were in and out. life was going on. And I was like, I felt like I was like, wait a minute, does anybody care? Does anybody know the trajectory of my life just changed? Does it matter to anybody? And I thought, I am all alone in this.
And I remember it was like, you're not enough, you're this, you're that. Like, how dare you? All these things in my head, and I was just like, I'm just gonna end my life right now because I can't do this. I'm sick of this. And as I was going to throw my car into the ditch, something just stopped me. And I was like, I can't do this because I just started a new life with my husband. Why would I do this? That would be so selfish. And I got a vision of him crying. I'm an empath, remember? And just that image of him crying, I'm like, I couldn't do it. Slammed the brakes, called my husband right away. I'm like, I almost just ended it all. And he's like, you need help. And I said, yeah.
To be in. And so today, Chicago represents my last expatriate journey. I think this is where I'm gonna stay now for the rest of my life. I was able to come to the States with my strengths, my expertise, and my lived experience, and also with a curious mind to be able to delve into this new society and this community that has been loved. And this is pretty much how I want to take you on this journey from growing beyond your boundaries, from limits to latitude.
And if you do those initial steps, which is brand, resilience, understanding, capturing your people's hearts and minds, and communication, those are the legs to your chair. That enables you to become a principled leader. So then, E to the third power, thus the name, the Bruce Blueprint, is execution. Do you have the ability to get things done? Engagement. Teamwork makes the dream work. And then finally, empowerment. That's where power multiplies and you have the ability to be successful in your leadership. So,
observational data, but the one thing that really stood out to me was he anticipated the sound of my voice. So I use something called what's called intonation. So I can go high, and I could go low, and I could go really loudly, or I could go really softly. So the way that I realized I was able to interact with him was by the way in which I use my voice, the way I interact with anybody.
I had the mammogram, and they did find a mass. They immediately wanted me to schedule an appointment with the surgeon. The nurse was able to get me in with the only surgeon that I knew who had done my husband's surgery on his shoulder years before. So I chose him. We went to him, and when we got there, I asked him if we could do a frozen section of the mass. We had already discussed if it was malignant, I was gonna have a mastectomy. And
bandwidth is an output measure. It tells you what someone can produce, not what someone can carry. A few days later, we sent a survey across the organization to measure overall sentiment of the change, so how employees were feeling about the change, and we wanted to understand what priorities were in place, what priorities were competing with this change that was happening. And when I read the responses, I noticed something very subtle but important. We weren't talking about bandwidth. Employees weren't just telling us what they could do, they were telling us what they couldn't do.
So what you have just done is called a Vipassana meditation. And I'm not a teacher, so I don't want to go deeper into that. But I think what you have done recently, just in the last 30 seconds, is that you have reprogrammed your body, your subconscious, your nervous system to break the reaction pattern. More and more we keep practicing these kind of tactics, and there's more that I will share. What you really do is you're programming your subconscious mind and becoming less of a reactive leader and becoming more of a responsive and a more conscious leader. And
that was my people pleaser. So if any one of you can relate to that, and if you take that away and implement it, that will be great.
So by integrating the ability to say no into your life, you can create a more balanced, fulfilled, peaceful, like work-life balance and empowered existence. You never know. By saying yes to everything, you are putting yourself down. My name, Aruna, means the dawn, sunshine. Yes. Yes. I hear you. Yes. 2 sunshines. Yes. One sunshine to another sunshine.
The less safe you are. Case in point, how many of you had more women destroy you than men destroy you as you raise up? Yep. You want to test this theory? Take 2 female executives and give them something where they have to compete with each other, and they will destroy each other without question. Who is done participating in that? I want to see hands. Thank you. Why do we do that? It's kind of like
in the world as to why things can't change. But I don't believe that. I work with children. Every minute of every day they change. And they're okay with it, and everybody's okay with it. And I feel that even as adults, in political settings, in very tense environments, when the temperature is extremely high, we can still lead with love and compassion and education, and we can change people's minds. No one is taking over anything.
So there's different types of government contracts. You have the local level, state, federal, and international level. I started first on the local level within my city. I started with city and county contracts, stayed there for a little while, and then advanced on up. So I'm now licensed in 9 states and 3 countries.
Tell me what was going on. And when he told me what was going on, he came around his desk and he kind of like put his hand behind the chair, and I was like, oh, that's not good. When a doctor wants to come closer to you, you know you're about to hear something not awesome. And he said, you're probably, if you keep going the way you're going right now, you will have 3 years. And I was 44 years old. And he said, it's okay, you can go on these corticosteroids. You can go really, really heavy dose of corticosteroids for the rest of your life, which will be 20 years, and in that time, you will have all of your joints replaced because it's going to destroy your body.
And you're able to identify what your strengths and values are, then you can bring them to your work or whatever it is that you're doing, again, and your family. Yes, I am an advocate. I know a lot of people, and I know all the systems in the state of Pennsylvania that I can talk to. So I know where to get resources, but I have to make sure that I'm not just pushing that along. I can't force things. I have to make sure that I'm being supportive and asking good questions. Otherwise, those technical skills and those traits and skills are not going to work. But
where I will start is just my spirit kind of leading me to go off on a trip with my cousin. I had not done a girls trip in my marriage. No, everything was about my husband, my daughter, family time. I decided to go on a trip with my cousin, and I saw this lady on the beach leading a yoga class, and I was like, that looks so interesting. And so I think someone earlier talked about how women in our 40s and stuff start going to yoga, and I did, because I was like, this is awesome. And what I found most helpful or exciting about yoga is that
Second, does my dream make me grow? Will my dream help me become a better person? And then, does my dream align with my core values? We all have our core values, which we have learned from since childhood. And those are our guides towards our destination, and that's our purpose. And then, does my dream require help from God? If we tell ourselves, oh, I will be able to achieve those things, no. Those are goals, because you're only, getting it, from your skill set.
My most recent is higher ed.
So let's talk AI a little bit. It is here, it's not coming, it is right here. Show of hands, how many people is using AI almost daily? Almost everyone in this room. That is good. What is your, on a scale of 1 to 10, just throw a number out, your satisfaction of AI?
8.
6, 7, 8? Okay. 8 if you know how to use it.
It's still wonky.
So there's room to grow. Let me tell you, someone who's been in technology for 25 years, I agree 100%.
And strategies. First, I need your help. Can you just randomly shout out your favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip.
Peanut butter.
Oatmeal raisin.
All right, cool. Lots of chocolate chip. Also notice, same category of cookie, but lots of different preferences. That's not random. That's your history, your experiences, your nervous system informing, receiving, and creating the outcome. Pain works the same way. Now,
motion therapy and all of this, and the nurse said, what do you need before we released you, for PT? And I said, I need you to walk me outside where there's an incline and let me walk, because on Sunday I'm going to go to church. And the church has an incline when I walk down the block. So I need to practice. So we went outside and we practiced a little incline, and I came back and I was going to PT, and she said,
what I wanted to talk about, not just career transition, but through all that, it's all about confidence building. Because how I started this journey of career transition and getting to those different spaces is to learn more about myself. What am I capable of? When I was in the fitness industry, I thought, I want to do something different, but I didn't know what that could be, or, hey, what am I capable of? I know I can work out, I know I can teach fitness classes, but what else can I do? So I'm going to show this picture here. This is me as a ballerina, about 5 or 6 years old. I just lasted about 1 year in my ballerina life. Not that it didn't go great, but a little story about this is that I'm an introvert. So if you've talked to me a little bit during this conference, I may not be super talkative because I'm very quiet naturally. So how in the world am I doing speaking engagements? That's how life works. But I'm very introverted, very quiet, and that ballerina life only lasted a year because my twin sister was forced to do it with me because I would do nothing without her there to support me.
However, it's still a move, and I think that's why they called me, because I was single, right? Oh, she doesn't have much to pack. Let's just move her here. And so as I planned for my retirement, I did 20 years and got out. I thought, the biggest thing we always think of in the military is financially, am I going to be okay? What should I do next? Those things. And I thought I had planned for everything. I had no idea of the mental shift that I would go through. Because in the military, I was a chief warrant officer. You might not know what that is, but I was a chief warrant officer. So you are always chief. Give me some insight. Chief, do this. Chief, what's the regulation for? We are the technicians of the Army. And so I was always needed.
You don't raise your income ceiling because you're offending the people in the communities that you come from. Oh, she's too bougie. As soon as I told people that my community, my program is no longer $97. Now you have to pay $3,000 to talk to me one-on-one.
Yes.
Oh, she just like those people that always have been trying to oppress us. Until I met some of my clients who had the same experience. They didn't look like me, but they were still oppressed because they were women. You so angry. You too aggressive. Nobody's gonna listen to you. You gonna die old and alone with some cats.
It isn't lowering standards. So I created this pause framework to help me get through leadership moments.
So the first thing is we need to pause and acknowledge the loss. There are a lot of people having difficult times. In my age right now, it's aging parents, taking care of parents. So I need to acknowledge that sometimes people are going through things. Then we need to ask how we can support. And then you understand what the individual needs. Support flexibility. We must be flexible. COVID proved us that we can be flexible.